Jim Jackson. We're going to have to take that conversation on the air eventually.
It's the best conversation. It's all about cigars. If anybody knows me, they know, okay, where's Jimmy at? He's at a cigar bar. He's somewhere smoking a cigar.
And great people in cigar bars.
It is some of the best people ever met in my life. Didn't think I had a commonality with somebody because if you sit down and maybe they're businessmen or they work somewhere else, whatever. But then you start smoking a cigar. It's like, okay, what kind of cigar are you smoking? You start talking about that. Then you start talking about family, business. What do you do? Next thing you know, you find a lot in common. So it's grown folks stuff, really. You know what I mean? It really is. You got to sit and talk and have a conversation.
Yeah, you don't have to talk me into it.
It took you some time, though.
It did.
You evolved into the cigar smoker that I'm proud of you, man.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have your admiration. So, speaking of Lakers would smoke a cigar if they could land Dan Hurley. Do you think he takes it? Should he take it?
With the changing landscape of college basketball, it's so difficult. I think Jay Wright was a precursor to a lot of things. I think he saw a lot coming early in regards to with regards to the transfer portal, where NIL was going, the pay for play, and not that they don't want to coach, but now you're basically coaching pros.
You're a capologist.
You are, because now in college you got to figure out the best recruiting for college coaches now is retention of your own players.
That's right.
Of how to keep them.
It's hard.
And that means that now you're going to have to raise money to overpay to keep a player that's probably disgruntled and not as patient. And now you got to still deal with the bureaucracies of the NCAA, also with board members, also with alumni, also with, raising money. You might as well go to the league. You might as well go to the NBA or professional sports, because a lot of the back noise you don't have to deal with as you do in college. Because when you're a college coach, you know that, especially at a major university, you're like a CEO. You're running everything.
So some of these guys are just, if I'm going to pay people, I'd rather be a pro coach.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, because the lifestyle's a lot better. It's a lot different.
Well, you've done UConn games. Does he work?
I mean, I love Dan. I love, from a X's and O's, from a coaching perspective. He's a little bit younger than me. Actually, I played against Danny when he was at Seton Hall. My junior year, he was a sophomore. Bobby, his brother, is the same age as me. We came out of high school together in '89. But I love his mind as a coach. Now, the flip side is that he's a fiery individual, like his mom, like his father, like his brother.
They bark.
They bark. The transition to be able to do that in the NBA, especially with a veteran team, that's the challenge. Because you just can't turn that switch off. He's fiery, and it works for a reason. It's a reason why his players respond to that. So I don't worry about the X's and O's. I don't worry about basketball and putting basketball people around Dan. It's that other side of it that could be a little tenuous, especially at the beginning.
So, Jim, let me throw this at you. I said this yesterday. Is the Lakers were in this market, and for 20 years, there was no NFL team here. They owned it. Mm-hmm. And the Dodgers were good, but they weren't winning World Series titles, and the Lakers were winning. They owned the newspapers. They owned talk radio in L.A. Mm-hmm. It would be like the Yankees without the Giants or the Jets.
Yep.
And they got arrogant. And they're not patient. And my thing is, now this is a draft and develop league. The new CBA, you can't have 3 stars. No. It doesn't work that way. Yep. Boston's like an outlier.
Yep.
My take is, are the Lakers built for Hurley, which is Wagner, Rhode Island, UConn? Take about 3 years to get us going. Are they built for that?
Well, the history will tell you no.
No.
And a good friend of mine, Antonio Daniels, who
I love him,
is the color analyst for the Pelicans.
Yeah.
He uses this when he talks about the Lakers, and I think it's spot on, organizational arrogance. From this perspective is that, because the things that you said about the Lakers for so long, and I was a part of organization briefly, that we are the Lakers. You should be honored and privileged to come here. Rob Pelinka is a great friend of mine. Rob was with the Fab Five when I was in school.
Great guy.
Great, unbelievable. But they do have a sense that we're doing you a favor by bringing you here.
Yeah.
So you remember when Ty Lue was offered the job, where they were interviewing
They
him.
kind of lowballed him, didn't
Well,
they?
listen, at the time, a 5-year deal was standard for a guy that won a championship. Okay? They offered him 3 years and wanted to pick his coaching staff. He's like, wait. I've won this. But in the backdrop was Frank Vogel. I'll take it. I'll take the 3 years. Darvin Ham, you bring a first-year coach, second-year coach in with championship aspirations, understanding that there's a learning curve that has to be there.
Yeah, no patience.
So your patience is not there. Now, internally, if some other things happen, I don't know. What is there to change now if you bring in, whether that's J.J. Redick or a Dan Hurley, their championship window is now. So what happens if it doesn't happen after next year? LeBron is on the back end of an extension. You got to figure out what you want to do at AD. Is it, okay, championship or bust year 2? And if it doesn't happen, we blow it up, but we keep the coach and let him grow? Or do we search again? Because stability is one thing that you need, Colin, you know that, to win. But
people think the NBA is a mobile league. Take LeBron out, it doesn't work most of the time.
No, especially when, listen, one of the things people talk about when I was in Dallas, they say, well, why didn't the Mavericks work? This Tony Braxton stuff, this worked, this. I said, let me tell you something. I was there 5 years, 5.5 years. I had 4 coaches and 3 owners in that time period.
God.
So you tell me, do you think we established any kind of continuity, any kind of mantra of who we are as a team and as an organization? We had none of that. So how do you expect, from a Lakers perspective, if you're changing who sits in that pilot seat every couple of years?
Yeah.
I mean, philosophy changed, defensive schemes changed, everything.
Yeah.
And now you're a coach too, where you really don't have control of your roster either on who's there.
Players can smell it.
Oh, big time.
They know when you're in trouble.
They know when you're in trouble. So it's one of those things, man, that's as great as organization, and that's when you're the Yankees, when you're the Celtics, when you're the, Red Sox, you deal with these issues because of expectations every year.
Yeah. Good stuff. I'll get to the finals. I want to go Caitlin Clark. I have said, listen, she's okay with it. We don't know how to handle it. She's not fragile. In the media, we're kind of fragile. It's just really hard to go every sport. Bryce Harper spent time in the minors.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez spent 2 years in the minors in Tacoma. Like, basically, Caitlin gets drafted. They give her a jersey. An hour later, they blow a whistle, go play.
Yeah.
She's getting pushed around. So, like, my thing is, she's going to be fine. There's a racial component. There's a gender component. We don't like to see girls pushed and picked on. And I was saying this early. We didn't let women box in the Olympics till 2012.
Yeah.
We were protective. So some of this is just like, wait, we're okay with guys getting picked on.
We are.
Joe Burrow getting hit late.
Yep.
We're good with that. Some of that, we don't like this, which I think Bryce speaks well, but I think she's going to be fine.
She is. I mean, the right to passage, right? The right to passage. You think Norm Nixon was happy when Magic Johnson came in? So seriously. I mean, when Michael Jordan came in, he had his detractors. It goes down the list with men with regards to the right to passage. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey,
It's a prove it thing.
Now, it happens in basketball too. Candace Parker had her share when she came into the WNBA.
Because she was a star in college.
Because she was a star. Now, the anomaly is she was NBA Rookie of the Year and also won MVP.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. She's one of the greatest players
She's one of the greatest players ever. The dynamic. See, everything is timing with Caitlin Clark. Because college basketball, I'm able to follow and see the dynamic build.
Yeah, you're one of the few people that does college and pro. You did a bunch of UConn games.
Listen, the dynamic. People think, well, you weren't talking about Caitlin Clark. Yes, you were. You just didn't pay attention to it. You didn't pay attention to what was happening in the landscape. But she was doing this before the national championship game for people in college that really followed it. The challenge is now that you go to the WNBA, who's been growing, and those who follow the game understand that the league has been great for a long time.
Yeah, but
it did just happen.
Yeah, the quality of play.
Oh, the quality of play is unbelievable.
She's the catalyst. She's the star, which, by the way, Conor McGregor was for the UFC, but the UFC over 10 years was getting better fights, better cards, better fighters. And then Conor just made it explode.
But the timing was right. Conor was the right person at the right time for the right product.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that as good as Angel Reese is, her story is a lot different than Caitlin's.
Sure.
Caitlin's story sells to Middle America, to the East Coast, to the West Coast, to the South.
Classic Midwest underdog.
Yeah, that's a story. So many times you don't have to be the best player, but your story is a lot better and more intriguing. So now you're drawing more eyes. That's not making it right, wrong, or indifferent. That's not saying she's better than Angel Reese or whoever. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is the story and the timing.
Yeah.
And the challenge for the WNBA is accepting what comes with that, with her start.
With Conor McGregor.
And with Conor McGregor. It's going to be likes and dislikes, but now you got more eyes on the TV, and that adds more criticism too.
Sure.
The thing I think that the WNBA, and to their credit, they're like, listen, there's a lot of people now just coming on board and want to say stuff. You haven't been following, but that's what happens.
Right.
It happens with every sport.
Casuals pour in with big opinions.
Listen, you think from a minority perspective with the eyes on PGA when Tiger came, then all of a sudden the casual fan came in and became golf experts when Tiger came. Yeah. Because the story was so phenomenal. You had people that really didn't watch Saturday, Sunday, or even Friday golf. Yeah. But it's the same thing here in regards to the new eyes, and now you got more opinions.
Yeah, sometimes the story isn't the best player. Baker Mayfield for a year was the story in the NFL. Number one pick, brash, cocky, wasn't the best player, but he was a story.
He was a story.
He was on 9 commercials as a rookie.
Well, people can follow that. They can buy into it. And listen, Steph Curry wasn't the best player, but his story for Davidson and growing and this
the
and
wild
the
three-point
wild
shots.
three-point. Okay, is he a better player than LeBron James? No. But his story of how he got to where he's at and what changed is very intriguing.
Yeah, Steph is the only basketball player. My son wasn't a big athlete that he liked. He was small. He was thin. My son's like, I could be that. The best story is not always the best player. It just certain athletes and politicians make us feel something.
They do. There's a connectivity, right?
There's a connectivity.
There's a connectivity.
Let's talk finally the finals.
Okay.
Sometimes I pick Denver Celtics finals.
Right.
But Minnesota's GM, formerly Denver's, built Minnesota to beat Denver. I think Denver would have clobbered Dallas.
Yeah.
I don't think they matched up. So now I watch a Dallas team that's hot but flawed, very offensively lopsided, very much about 2 guys. I watched last night and I thought, hell, Tatum didn't play great and they still rolled them. Is it possible that Dallas got a huge break, that Minnesota knocked out the team that would have beaten them, Denver? They matched up very well with Minnesota, and Dallas may be a little overwhelmed in this series. They just don't have all the pieces to defend all of Boston's shooters.
But isn't that what happens in sports, though? Because that's the beauty about the playoffs and the regular season. And think about this, too, how seeding matters. At the end of the season, Denver wins a few more games. Maybe they're a higher seed than Minnesota, and things work out differently.
Denver led by 20 in Game 7.
You mean things work out? Maybe it's not OKC at the top, but that's how it works out. The only thing you can do as a team is prepare yourself to win and play, whoever's in front of you, okay? Whatever happens in the other series, you can't control. Now, but we all get down to it. When you get to here, it's all about matchups. Denver is a better matchup for probably in the long run for Boston. But Minnesota was a better matchup to beat Denver. Okay? So that's how this thing circulates. Now, when you look at Boston playing the Mavs, the advantage Dallas had against one of the best defensive teams in the league was that it was a rim-protecting team.
They can do wing defending
here. Again, Antonio Daniels says this, defensive versatility. What would you rather have, a rim protector or 5 guys that can guard over the court?
That's the Celtics.
OKC
OKC had a little bit of that too.
But they weren't mature enough to stay fundamental.
That's right. So OKC's a younger, less mature, less refined Boston.
Exactly. So think about Minnesota is like this. It's like little things. So everybody's saying, well, Rudy Gobert, the drop coverage, the lob passes. Well, guess what? Boston played some drop coverage, but they were disciplined enough not to inch in on the baseline and give up that corner 3. where, Anthony Edwards and Alexander would inch in and bite for Luka and bite for Kyrie for that floater, and then they spray it out to the corner. If you notice, it wasn't a lot of open corner threes for the Mavs. Boston's game plan, okay, we're going to drop coverage. We're going to force Kyrie and Luka to make tough twos. We don't care if you make 2-point shots. You make 2-point shots. We want to eliminate those corner threes. And then on offense, what we have the advantage is, okay, where's Luka? He's over there. Put him in this pick and roll. We're going at him. Oh, you want to switch? Bring him back. We're going to attack, force you to help, rotate, attack again, force you to rotate, then we're going to get shots. Yeah. And that's what you saw last night from Boston.
Beautiful thing. You going to have a cigar tonight?
Let me see. I'm going to work out in about an hour. I would say about 3:30.
J-Mac, those afternoon cigars.
Oh, the best. With a little, come on, we got to have a little double espresso.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.